I mean, they used to call it crucifixion, and then that was not good. And then they moved it to the E plan. So instead of a cross, they had a great big E that they stuck you out on. I think I did one loan, and then it was debt settlement. Just day after day, right? It was, I joke, it was a foreclosure a week for 2 years, but it was debt settlement every week. Yeah. And so it was very different than what I was kind of expecting. So we're coming out of the 80s, and there's, it was just a wreck, right?
G'day, my name is Trent Klarenbach, and I'm here with Tim Hammond from Hammond Realty, longtime friend of mine. I met Tim when I was 16 years old. He might have been 18 or 19 at that time. And our history goes back a long ways to university and some business organizations. But yeah, here we are with Tim Hammond. Great to have you here.
Oh, thanks, Trent. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation. It's good.
Me too.
So I'll just start off with this one. New York is big, but this is bigger.
It is bigger.
That's where you grew up.
That's where I grew up. I grew up on a straight grain farm, actually, kind of southwest of Biggar, about 25 miles. So, but Biggar was where we went to school, and kind of called home, I guess, played hockey, the sports there, and all that kind of stuff. So, it is, or it was very much like a railroad town too. So, larger for West Central Saskatchewan. So, but yeah, it was great. It's Biggar's near and dear to my heart. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a recent Main Street Rejuvenation project that you were involved to some degree there.
Yeah. So one of our former residents, like Wayne Brownlee, very generous individual. So he decided to donate like $2.5 million to the town on a matching basis, if we could raise that, to revitalize it. So it was just fantastic. And so I got really involved with that, and because I love building things, I love rejuvenating, I love the long-term vision that he had with that, right? You're not just doing this for a couple of years. It's going to set the town up for the next 100. So, yeah, so it really kind of spoke to my heart, and I really, got quite involved with that, actually. So.
Yeah, it was got quite a bit of press in the province, and brought some people back to the community that had left. And
it did. Actually, it was really, one of the things that we didn't expect was just how it reconnected people that used to live in Biggar back to Biggar, and they're basically all over the world. And when they heard about it, it really spoke to them as well. So we actually had as much support from former Biggar residents than we did from, the Biggar residents there. Yeah.
Is that right, eh?
Yeah.
That's the thing. You grow up in a small community, you develop stronger connections, I believe.
Yeah.
Our kids, for example, well, even myself, but our boys grew up in Kinnersley, which is probably 10 times the size of the town I grew up in, Etonia. But they go golfing, and they could golf with their friends. They could be golfing with their parents' age, and sometimes the generation above. So any given day, they could golf with a 20-year-old and a 50-year-old and a 70-year-old.
Yeah.
And just stronger connections.
Yeah, well, I think you hit that on the head, right? It's a connection through the generations.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things about the revitalization that was really cool. It was just multi-generational.
Oh, yeah.
How everybody kind of got involved. So, but yeah, it is. It's the whole and I think the community needed that. I think a lot of communities need that. Something to pull it together and kind of rally around, right? And just rebuilds your spirit, and and the town looks great. Like all the improvements that they did, and you can visually see it, which is even better.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something to see and maybe even hold a little bit.
Right. Yeah, and to experience, right?
Yeah, experience is a good word for that.
Yeah. So
excellent.
Very cool.
Well, yeah, so when I first, I glance at the screen every now and then to make sure it's still recording, but when I first met you, I was 16 years old, and I've talked about this before. I don't know if you remember this, not because I was a young kid, but I always remember younger kids always remember the older people more than the older remember the younger, right? So anyways, I met you there. You're back in Erie Park playing slow pitch with some buddies from university.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, I went to university. And at that time, you were, as my first year ag, and you were the president of the agros.
Right. Yeah. The Students Association, the Agriculture Students Association. Yeah.
So that took. I was always. I couldn't do that type of work. I remember in my class and the guys speaking to the front of the class, and I didn't have the confidence or the wherewithal to do that. So I always admired those leadership qualities. So yeah, you demonstrated that at a young age, which we recognized, right?
Cool.
And us young guys like Dave and we recognized that and admired that. So part of does it still happen where the engineers capture the agro president or?
No, I think they stopped that. They kiboshed that, right? So
Well, yeah, if you
maybe not a bad thing. Yeah.
if you're young enough and didn't experience it, it was a little chaotic there. I would just, like, what happened there? They kidnapped you.
Yeah, the engineers, well, they would do it. They used to call it crucifixion, and then that was not good. And then they moved it to the E plant. So instead of a cross, they had a great big E that they stuck you out on. And so the engineers, they would typically go after the agro president and kind of capture him 3 days ahead of this event, and then keep him a little bit intoxicated or a lot intoxicated over those 3 days, and then strip them down to their underwear and then tie them up on the E, with saran wrap and tape and stuff like that. And then this army of engineers would kind of surround the E and then taunt the agros to come get their president, right? So it was really unique, right? Unique to be in it, also unique for a lot of people to watch it. The whole campus would come out and watch, right?
Yeah.
So there'd be 15,000 people watching these 400 agros and 400 engineers tackling this. So, but that was the goal, kind of get the agro president back. And, we sprayed shaving cream at each other, and we pantsed each other, why you'd want to pull off somebody's pants. But anyways, we did that. And
That was funny because
water balloons. Yeah.
we're trying to get you down from the E and rescue your president, and you were up there. I don't know if you were sober or intoxicated or what. I'm sure it wasn't that you're doing, but leading the agro chants, and it was pretty funny for a young guy to see.
I get a lot of energy from people, and university was the highlight of my existence. Maybe I just felt so connected to the 400 agros that were there. But also, the engineers and the education people and the commerce people and everybody else that was there, right? We're all young people kind of coming into our own.
Yes,
we're
absolutely.
independent, right? So I loved it all. And I love to inspire people with that positive energy. And I think I did it a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was inspired to learn about yucca flux anyways. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, university, what a blessing and that was an opportunity. Like you say, you're at a certain age, you're on your own, and you're trying to find out who you are, and you're meeting all these other people, and everybody's outgoing. I can't imagine being in another environment with the opportunity to meet that many people who are like, everybody's willing to meet someone else, and I just haven't been in that situation since then. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I agree, right? And so we got to meet all these people that were just like us, from all across the province, and just super cool. Anyway, so I really value that experience, and it's still I still think about it, fondly all the time. So
what a great time. Yeah, we've encouraged our boys to go to university, and they've all taken that opportunity, and I think for the most part, they're loving it. So
yeah, my kids' university experience was a little different than mine, but in a good way, right? And I'm sure every generation is kind of like that too, So everything kind of happens for a reason. But it's different.
Well, what was acceptable in society, and especially in rural Saskatchewan 30 years ago or 40 years ago, is certainly different than it is now, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of behaviors that just simply aren't accepted or tolerant, or for all the right reasons, right? So,
exactly.
So things kind of snowball.
Yeah.
Was your intention to go back farming then when you went to university, or what was your
No, I don't think so. So I grew up on the farm. I love the farm. I love agriculture, right? I just, and I think what I love about farming is just the entrepreneurship of it, right? So, but growing up on the farm, I had asthma and allergies really bad. So physically, it was extremely challenging for me to want to farm, right? And I just knew that with these allergies and asthma, I just couldn't do that kind of long term. So, kind of what's the next best thing? So I want to be in the agriculture industry. Yeah. So I always knew I would go to university. My dad is an agro. He's an ag grad. My grandfather, Lindsay Blair, he's an ag grad from, I think it was 1932.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then lots of uncles and cousins. And so we're our family on both sides, my mom's side, my dad's side, are just extremely kind of connected to this agriculture industry. So I just knew that that's kind of where I wanted to be. So I kind of thought, like, what's the next best thing to do? And I remember, like, I must have been grade 10 or 11, but my dad had an appointment with Farm Credit Canada. And so he was going in. I don't know if he was talking about getting a loan or making a payment or whatever, but I went into the office with him. And I remember kind of sitting across the desk and listening to my dad talk to this guy that just sounded so professional and knowledgeable and was helping dad. And dad seemed appreciative. I thought, that's cool. That's kind of what I want to do. So when my grade 11 guidance counselor asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to work for Farm Credit. And he's like, well, that's oddly specific.
Yeah, really.
And it was really specific, but I kind of knew right then, right, that no, this is what I want to do. So anyways, it's kind of neat. I always, and I did, right? I ended up kind of working for Farm Credit. I was a summer student in between third year and fourth year kind of with them. And then I got on full time with them afterwards, and I spent 11 years with them. So, and I love Farm Credit. Just a great culture, great people. They're all farm kids, kind of working there. Yeah, but it's funny, people say, you're grade 11, grade 10, you're not supposed to know what you want to do.
You knew.
I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But I also knew that I wanted to do business as well. Like the business kind of part of it really kind of intrigued me. And I didn't know what that was in grade 11, but I knew that Farm Credit would be a great stepping stone to that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, so you went to AgAc, right?
Yeah, a degree in agricultural economics.
Yeah. And I did the same thing. So
Yeah.
I was behind you by a couple of years. And the reason I chose AgAc, well, I started in arts and science for the first year.
Yeah.
With the intentions of getting into commerce or agriculture. And agriculture is a better fit for me than commerce, but not always by my decision. But it was, I qualified to get into AgAc after that. So then, and honestly, it's such a close-knit college. Our youngest right now, he's in university. He tells me about the agros right there. They wear these blue jackets and, he's having fun with it and everything. But they're really unique, and they're still the social college on campus, right?
Yeah.
They have their own nights that, local establishment there. You have the agro night, the ag night, and that's where everybody goes, right? Because that's the most fun.
Yeah.
So it's the business side of things, which we both appreciate.
Yeah, when I think I ended up in ag economics, and I mean, I'm not gonna, like, economics really didn't interest me, but it was as close to business as I could get with the agriculture spin on it, right? Yeah. And so it was, and I tried to fill my electives as best I could with commerce classes, right? Accounting, finance, marketing, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of built my own mini agribusiness kind of degree. And then I loved soils. So I kind of got a minor in soils too. So which is a kind of an odd combination for economics and soils.
Yeah, absolutely.
But served me very well down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, certainly what you're doing now, which we'll get into. The AgAc is as close to finance as you can get, and that's why I took it also.
Yeah.
And great experience. So then so when I was in school, it was either, in my mind, and it's probably because of the influence of you, but in my mind, the best jobs, most seeked after job was to get a farm credit job or a Canadian wheat board job.
Oh, yeah.
and I didn't think about the wine companies, but
Yeah.
those are the two jobs that I remember being. And of course, we got friends who worked at the wheat board and
Yeah.
everything else too.
Yeah.
So yeah, you went. Okay, so you graduated. You went into the workforce right after graduation.
Yeah. So Farm Credit didn't have a position for me kind of right after graduation. So I worked with CIBC for like 6 months, and I was actually in Brandon, Brandon for 2 weeks, but Dauphin, Manitoba for about 6 months prior to that.
Okay.
And then the job kind of popped open, and then I moved back to Saskatoon with Farm Credit. So
Worked
Yeah.
out of the city here.
I worked out of Saskatoon. Yeah. So I kind of handled, my territory was north of Saskatoon. And so it was really kind of a mix of all kinds of agriculture, stuff that I wasn't familiar with, like dairy and hog, the grain stuff I was pretty familiar with. So again, I was kind of learning, right? And but what a great area to kind of work out of. And
Oh yeah. What year would that have been, man? You graduated
That
in
was-
82?
I graduated in 91.
91,
So it
okay.
was like December of 91 that I started working with Farm Credit.
December of 91.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was an interesting time for you at that job.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, I love the farm finance, right? And I wanted to help people, right? I wanted them to take advantages of the opportunities in front of them, right? And give them loans to do that. So, so I signed on and thinking we're going to do loans, right? We're going to help a lot of people. Well, I think I did one loan, and then it was debt settlement, just day after day, right? It was, I joke, it was a foreclosure a week for 2 years, but it was debt settlement every week.
Yeah.
And so it was very different than what I was kind of expecting. So we're coming out of the 80s, and there's, it was just a wreck, right? Undersecured loans, and nobody's, paying them. 40% of my portfolio was in arrears, like come May 1st. So we had to kind of work at fixing that, right? And so I'm 22, 23 years old, and working on these very intense kind of debt settlement arrangements with families that have got generations at the kitchen table. So
Like that'd be challenging for someone with years of experience and more age on their side, but 22, 23 years old, man. But there must have been, like that's it would have been emotional kitchen table, I'm going to guess at
Yeah.
times. And like, how did you prepare for that? Or how did you handle that? Or how did you?
I didn't prepare for it. It was like sink or swim, right?
Yeah.
Kind of get into it. And so I'm also very determined that I'm going to do this, but I had a lot of fear, a lot of uncomfortableness with this, right? And the numbers part, that was easy. I crunched the numbers. I could tell, are they going to be able to make it? Are they not going to be able to make it? At what level if we adjust this? So coming up with options, I could do that actually, and I enjoyed that part of it. But it was sitting at the table helping people go through these emotions that was extremely hard, right? And I almost quit after 9 months of that. I wasn't sure that this is what I signed up to, but I got over that hump, and I realized that I could remove my emotions from it, right? I don't have to take these on, kind of what they're feeling.
Good for you, yeah.
And when I did that, I could display a lot of empathy with them too. Yeah, this is a crappy situation, but it's the situation. And so here's 3 different options that we think can help you with that. And I know none of this is comfortable, but you gotta make a decision, right? So it wasn't about, I learned that once you give people options and respect them and preserve their dignity, then actually the process got a lot better anyway. So
Oh, I bet. I can imagine, yeah.
yeah.
Well, that would have been quite a time, just to try to manage that. But interesting, you made a point there where after 9 months you thought about quitting, but
Yeah.
you got over the hump, and that's a lesson I've learned is just when you're about to quit, just when you think there's nothing but despair and you can't go any further, just go a little bit further. And that seems to be the tipping point.
It's always darkest before dawn.
Yeah, I've been there a few times. I've been on both sides of it, and
Yeah.
it's better to push through it if you can, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I agree. And every time you do that and you come out the other side and there's light on it, it gives you confidence to
Yeah.
do that the next time.
it
right?
does, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. yeah, you kind of know the outcome. Yeah, as bad as this feels right now,
Yeah.
just give it some time.
Yeah.
Work through it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So 11
Yeah.
years, yeah, 11. Well, it wasn't off like that. It's about 2 years. It was.
Yeah, so I kind of spent 2 years, probably maybe 2.5, kind of in that environment. We did, some loans, but it was a lot of debt settlement. And then out of this debt settlement, we ended up with all this land back, right? In exchange for the debt. So we had 1.25 million acres in Saskatchewan that we, had taken in exchange for the debt. And so we developed a specialized team to manage that land, right? So we had to manage it, lease it out. We had to value it. We had to resell it, right? Because Farm Credit didn't want to own land,
Right.
So, but you got to give these people kind of time to get back on their feet and reorganized, hopefully, so that they can buy it back. So I worked for 8 years kind of in that division. They called it agriland. And
Okay.
yeah. And so, and that's what got me into, farmland real estate kind of afterwards, was kind of that 8-year period. Just valuing land and working with farmers, and again, kind of helping them expand and grow their operation, right? So it was, I loved it. And, but I knew at Farm Credit, they didn't want agriland, they only had it because they had to have it, right? So the goal was to sell all the land and then just, kind of shelf that. And but it was good. And then I knew that once I was done that I wanted to try this kind of on my own. And so that's when I left Farm Credit and went into real estate on my own.
So you basically got into your career in farmland right at the very close to the worst,
Yeah.
the bottom of the cycle, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of my experience initially was agriculture was extremely hard, right? Like people weren't going back to the farm then. Like my generation, they didn't go back to the farm. We went and got those jobs kind of whereas 20 years later, yeah, they are. And today they're staying on the farm, right? But my generation kind of left, and with good reason, right? Like they did not look very optimistic at that point. So yeah, so it was a lot of hard, right? So the problems that you had to help solve, right? Nothing was a no-brainer, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was there was no encouragement for me to come back and farm.
Yeah.
I decided to,
Yeah.
but and I was given the opportunity, but it was not like, go get a job, go in the education, see it's something to fall back onto.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it wasn't, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's for a lot of years there, right?
Yeah.
So 11 years Farm Credit, and then you really bet on yourself.
Yeah.
And tell me about that process. How do you arrive at that plan, or that idea you had to go on your own?
Yeah. So in '94, when they came out with Agriland, they had this pilot project, and so they had this land agent, and so the compensation was based on results. So if we got a certain amount of results, right? If we leased so much land, we sold so much land or whatever. So it wasn't commission based, but it was results based. And I liked that, right? And that intrigued me. And so that's why I signed up for Agriland, kind of part of that. And so it gave me confidence, right? I knew that if I could invest time and get my system set up, right? And my Rolodex working right, and some templates all kind of set up, I could get really efficient at this and good at it. And I did, and I really liked that. And so then that's what I knew with, at Farm Credit, there probably wouldn't be another opportunity to kind of with the same kind of results. And I just love, working with farmers. So I thought, I need to do this. And I remember like so we sold the last acre of land, and okay, Tim, we got a job for you in Regina. When are you coming? And I'm like, I don't think I'm coming. And they're like, what do you mean, man? You'd be so good down in here. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I got this crazy idea that I want to go and do this by myself, right? And they're like, oh man, that sounds like a lot of risk, Tim. And and it was kind of funny because the more they said, oh, are you sure you want to do this? The more sure I was that I would do. And I mean, I never burnt any bridges too. So I said, look, I need to try this. I think I'll succeed. If I don't succeed, I'll come back. And hopefully you guys will have a position and I'll start at the bottom rung again. But I need to do this, right?
I like that. I need to do this. Yeah.
I feel so compelled to do this anyway. So even if I fail, I need to know that I tried.
Yeah, there's so much confidence from trying, and regardless of the results.
Yeah.
And I've have never regretted trying anything, but there's been things I've regretted not doing, and you're not always in the right frame of mind to do something, or pursue something, right? So it's I always admire that when someone.
Yeah, I've always told my kids that too, is, whatever you do, just try your hardest. And if it doesn't work out, you can sleep at night knowing that you tried your hardest, right? Yeah.
And it's a crazy thing, to go from a good paying job, we'll say, a good paying job or something that you're happy with or content with, to give that up with the possibility and likelihood that you're going to start out making less.
Yeah.
For an indefinite amount of time.
Or you might not survive.
You might not survive. But there's something fulfilling in even working for less, but doing something you created, maybe from nothing or whatnot, right? It's just betting on yourself, I think is. So how'd that process work? You got your license?
Yeah, I got my license, and I worked with a brokerage out of Swift Current. It was Royal LePage Dynasty there. Ken Workington was the broker. And so Ken, he also had an ag degree, and they farmed in the Swift Current area. And so that's what kind of attracted me to him, is just kind of his ag background, right? And Swift Current is, it's a major center for rural Saskatchewan, but it's rural Saskatchewan. So I connected with him, and you have to work for somebody else, for a while till you have enough experience before you can set up your own brokerage. So I did that, and worked with Ken and learned lots kind of from him. And so that's how I kind of got started. And farmland is my passion, right? But I also needed to put groceries on the table, right? So then I started selling houses, like in Biggar, right? And nobody else was doing it. And oh my goodness, there was a thriving business there that had just been untapped for how long, right? And so I was very fortunate, that the town was very happy to have this service, right? And so I got into residential, and I'd probably sell 30, 35 houses a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was busy. And the nice thing about that is it's off season to the farms, right? Farmland tends to be busier through the winter time, and then houses in the springtime, they start to pick up kind of through September. So it was kind of like an off farm job, right? It was kind of my off season job, which put groceries on the table. And those deals closed quicker. And so there was, a lot of financial reasons to kind of do that. And then also to get deal flow, get experience, right?
Get the reps in.
Get the reps in, right? And so it was good. I wasn't particularly drawn to residential real estate, right? But I knew I could make money. I knew I could help people kind of along the way. So that's why I did it. Yeah. So it got me going though, and then once we kind of got some legs underneath the farm part of it, then I decided I didn't want to do the residential, but there's a business here. So then I hired somebody, just to take on the residential for us. So,
okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So when you left Farm Credit to go into real estate, how old were you? Like 32, 33?
That was in
35,
2002. I was
35?
33. Yeah.
You had at least a couple kids on.
3 kids.
3 kids on that way, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and my wife quit her job kind of the same day I quit my job.
Yeah.
So no pressure, right? But I think pressure is a good thing. I think fear is a good motivator, right? And that's what I've seen is people who have it all on the line, they're 100% committed to this, right?
Yeah.
If somebody's got a part-time job or a full-time job and they want to do this, the risk isn't as great, right?
No,
so is the commitment as great? So I'm a firm believer that you can't half swim. You got to jump all the way into the pool.
Yeah, you have to be all in.
You have to be all in.
I remember when I was transitioning out of farming, I did both. I worked full time and farmed, and needed to be one place to put food on the table, and but my heart was in the other place, and there was work that didn't. Both jobs are time sensitive,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I had responsibilities that I couldn't pass off anyone else I had to go to work, and you just can't. It's hard to do both effectively. I'm always amazed that people can manage multiple tasks effectively at one time. I don't have the ability to do it.
No, I don't either. Yeah, I don't either because I can only focus on one thing, right? Yeah. And then I should only focus on one thing.
Yeah.
And if I start to juggle, I do crappy jobs with the other ones, right?
Yeah. I do two things.
Crappy.
Yeah. That's the way I do it. So yeah, that's okay. So that's cool. So what a year that have been? You moved back to Biggar then? That would have been.
So we built a house in Biggar and moved back in 1997, actually, when the kids were young, while I was at Farm Credit.
Okay.
So I told them, I said, like, hey, look, like I moved to Biggar. It's kind of my hometown. It's West Central for you guys. It's good for you guys. And they're like, yeah, that makes all kinds of sense. So, but I kind of had that in my mind that afterwards I'm going to go into this on my own, and my hometown is probably a good place to launch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then in '96 we moved back to Biggar, and then I guess I should have rephrased the question. When did you go on your own, open up your own agency?
2002. Okay.
2002.
So 2002, I left Farm Credit and then worked with Royal LePage Dynasty, and I worked with them for 4 years.
Okay.
And then 2006, then I set up my own business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim Hammond Realty. Yeah.
Okay. You ever done the math on these changes in your life? I kind of did mine one time. I forget, but just they seem to be in every 10 years or so, or
Oh yeah.
within a career change.
I haven't done the math, but I do feel that there's cycles to it.
Yeah, I definitely kind of noticing a cycle in my life. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So 2007, yeah, and
Yeah.
then Tim Hammond Realty
Started with Tim Hammond Realty, right? Build my name, build my brand, have people call Tim, right? And the internet's kind of available now, so you just Google Tim Hammond and my cell phone number kind of pops up. It's funny because I spent the first 10 years of my career getting my cell phone on the internet, and the last 10 years trying to pull it off.
Yeah, I'll start moving the Tim from the Hammond.
Well, we did in the end, right? We rebranded. What year was that? 2015. We moved from Tim Hammond Realty to Hammond Realty. Yeah. We kind of went through a rebrand and had the marketing den strategize for us and that sort of stuff. So as we were expanding and more members and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I remember when you were going through that branding, and I think it's a bang up job. I love the energy of it. It's incredible.
Yeah, I love it too. And, my wife and I were kind of doing this, and the marketing den had a pitch for us. They go, well, we got a couple of options for you. And unfortunately, my wife couldn't be there. And so she said, don't make a decision. I'm like, yeah, of course I won't make a decision without you. And so then they pitched it, right? And then it was, with the Hammond Hills, right? I call them kind of the background, the logo, and acres of expertise. I'm like, I want that, right? Like, and so, so I took it, right? So you didn't make that decision without me. Well, no, but you would have picked this one anyways, right? So,
I like it.
But yeah, it really spoke to my heart just like instantly. It's just like it was no decision. It was just like, job well done. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and then you got probably the first couple hires, and how attracting agents is it?
Yeah.
What's that look like?
Yeah, so I kind of, get going on my own in 2006 and then, dish off the residential, right? Hire somebody to kind of do the residential so I can do more farmland. And then my brother-in-law kind of came to work with me, Dave Mulbert. Dave also has an ag degree, and he was working at the Scotiabank in Alberta. And so, so we thought, that's great, Dave. You come and work with us. So I just started kind of thinking I'm doing the broker anyways, right? I might as well have kind of some agents kind of helping me out, and I can make a little bit off of them too, kind of in the process. So so we just kind of continued to kind of attract people kind of with the same, interests, and
What was that like to give up some of that responsibility or to learn to delegate? Did that come naturally to you, or did it? No.
Still doesn't. Do you know what I guess it comes through kind of trust and confidence. If you can trust the person and you're confident in them, then delegation is just so much easier, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I was just kind of to the point, I was so busy anyways, that it really didn't feel like delegation. It was kind of like helping me out, right? It was
I
kind of
see.
more of a partnership, I would say. So,
Yeah.
but for the longest time too, I was kind of a player coach. I had my own listing business, right? And then, kind of coached everybody that kind of worked with us too. Yeah.
Yeah, I founded my own business there. It was a consulting business, different but similar.
Yeah.
And yeah, learning how to delegate was, well, it's so important just for the way of life. Like
Yeah.
if you're successful, you just can't, you don't have enough time for
Yeah.
the work, let alone work and family and
Yeah.
whatever personal thing you want to do for yourself. So yeah, learning how to delegate was, super important for me. And it was interesting how once you learn how to delegate and are doing, with air quotes, less,
Yeah.
you can actually be more profitable and make more money
Yeah. And more happy.
and more happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was something that I didn't know how to do that until I joined EO, Entrepreneurs Organization.
Oh, yeah.
And that was actually why I joined, I guess. I was in ag. I did ag X. I always wanted my own business, and I wanted to be on the business side of things.
Yeah.
And then I had it, and I realized I never worked for anybody in that capacity before. So
Yeah.
I knew I was never an employee, so I didn't even know how to treat employees, or I knew good, but
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
it's not enough.
Yeah.
And delegation. So I joined EO, and that was when our paths kind of got reconnected again.
Yeah.
And that was so I.
Yeah.
Yeah, we joined the same time, right?
Yeah. Was that 2012, 2011?
Again, I don't know the
Yeah,
year. Yeah, around
somewhere in there.
2011 maybe, because I had met Michelle at that time, and she told me she didn't want to be with, I shouldn't say it, let me not put the words. She didn't think she could be with somebody who worked that hard
Oh.
because there wouldn't be enough time for her.
Yeah.
And I've already slowed down. I don't work as hard as I used to, right? It was just
Right.
head down, ass up. That's all I knew. And
Yeah.
yeah, like you're just never going to get to where you want to get to with that attitude, I don't think.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, joined EO,
Yeah.
and that was where you and I were in the same forum together.
Yeah.
That was cool. And yeah, that was a tremendous experience. You're still in EO, I guess, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still in EO. So I think this is my 14th year now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I really kind of value that experience, like other entrepreneurs, right? And, it's funny, we all have different businesses, but we all have the same issues, right?
yeah.
Whether it's inventory, finance, cash flow, financing, people, human resources, partners, they're all business kind of issues. They're not a specific business issue, right? And so even though we can have very, very different businesses, we can have a lot of similar experiences and kind of learn from each other, right? And so I really valued that. And I valued that they could appreciate what I was going through,
Yes.
Yeah. Because you can't always share kind of what you're going through, with general public or, or whoever, right? And it was a really safe community space, to kind of share. And no one ever judged you, right? And so it was good. And that's why I'm still there, is I value that safe space and kind of the wisdom that everybody shares in it too.
Yeah, that whole forum concept, which that was like I say, it was very significant to me, very important to me. Having an outlet to share and to, be able to share own struggles, but also
Yeah.
help with someone else's.
Help
right?
somebody else, right? You've got an experience that you went through and you share it, and that helps that person, right?
Yeah. And to your point you brought up earlier, like for me, I probably had the smallest business in our forum, I'm going to guess. But it didn't matter the size of the business.
Yeah.
The issues, like you said, were all the same.
Yeah.
HR typically is what they are.
Yeah.
And some sort of human relationship issue or concern. And that was really interesting to me because it everybody has the same problems. There might be a few extra zeros attached to it, but it's the same. It's all relevant, and it's all the same thing. That's significant. So.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah. So the technology side of things, you and I have always been I think you're a step ahead of me on the
Well, I don't-
tech adoption side of things.
I don't know about that. Yeah,
But it's been a significant role, I guess, right? And for what?
yeah. I mean, technology is a tool, right? And anytime you can use a tool to make yourself more efficient or get better results, right? Or do things quicker, I just think, why not, right? Because that's kind of what I'm driven for is efficiency and results, right? And improvement. And technology can help you do that. I mean, it can feel like it's slowing you down at times too, right?
Yeah,
You
can
know,
be distracting for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, you and I are fairly active on social media and keeping up on what's going on and the new. I think maybe toy might be the wrong word. Tool might be the better word for it. You shared with one recently with me that I think I got to take another look at this, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it just makes, if you save 15 minutes or half an hour a day, I mean, that's you can transition that to something you want to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. So so you get a number of agents working with you. What sort of, I guess, what has been a real, without getting into, I guess, don't share more than you want to share, but what would say one struggle that you've had that, I mentioned my delegation was a huge struggle for me to overcome. Do you have anything like that challenge that you've had to overcome or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, kind of finding the right relationships, kind of people to work with. And, I guess we've got two that we work with. We've got, kind of employee or team members that are on salary, but, all of our agents they're independent contractors, right? And so they have their own business. So really, my business serves their business. And, so it's a business relationship, right? It's not really like an employee employer kind of relationship, which I like. I like treating it as, kind of partnerships, right? And so I made a lot of mistakes kind of with relationships, and I've learned a lot. And I think I've got better at them, right? And I know what kind of relationships I want. And I also know that it takes work, right? If you want a high quality relationship, you've got to put in high quality effort, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm also about quality, not quantity, right? I don't need to have 100 agents, right? I need to have 10 that I truly trust and that I can help make them smarter and they can help make me smarter. And I think I've got that right now. I think I'm getting better at that. So I think that's one thing I've improved over time is kind of the quality of relationships, the business relationships, the personal relationships too.
Yeah. That's one thing that when I first started, I started hiring people in my consulting business. I didn't have a formal hiring process.
Yeah.
So basically, let's go for lunch.
Yeah.
And after that lunch, I thought I'd go for a beer with that person.
Yeah.
And like everybody's, I would do that, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just because I'd go for a beer, I wouldn't go for a beer with the person doesn't mean they're a bad person. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's all about the fit, right?
Yeah.
I've had some great people work with me that we just weren't a good fit for each other.
Yeah.
I wasn't for them. They weren't for me.
Yeah.
I've had on the other side, I've had great fits, right?
Yeah.
So finding that right fit is always, I don't know, is there any processes or anything? Is there values something that you go through? Or?
Well, I would say initially I was like you, right? Just kind of meet and I would start selling Hammond Realty, right?
Yeah.
This isn't a job interview.
Yeah, it was a
This
sell.
is an amazing opportunity I have for you. Do you want to join, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, they answered all the right questions, right? Wow.
yeah.
So, and I don't know if that's an entrepreneur thing or just a Tim thing, but anyways, so, so that didn't always produce the best results. And so, now, what I've learned, I hired like a kind of an interview coach to kind of help me kind of interview. And another thing that we do is I like to do lots of not psychological tests, but kind of assessments, I guess. How do you like to work, right? Where do you get your energy? Where do you take action, right? Are you extroverted, introverted? I really think I love data. And so I love to collect as much data about them as I can, right? And especially now with AI, you can plug this in
boy.
and you can ask all kinds of questions and it just does, it just, so anyways, just having this data has really kind of helped me. And I mean, the scorecards, they're not perfect, right? And I do ultimately think you got to go with a gut check, right? And it's got to be a culture fit. But just, my whole process is a lot better than what it used to be. I'm also more honest too. I'm like, hey, this is who I am. You based on who you are, you're going to be frustrated with me because this is what I do.
After
And
you've done your set,
Yeah.
so you've learned to understand them,
yeah.
what frustrates them, and how that,
And then
how
prepare
you're-
them for
your-
what's going to frustrate them about me.
Interesting. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's about this relationship, right? Okay, either we can get through that or we can't, right?
Yeah.
So but if we, call out the elephant in the room right away, the chances are just so much, better that we are going to get through it. So I've become a lot more open and asked some harder questions maybe than I used to, and for me that's uncomfortable. I don't like conflict, right? I have trouble having those hard conversations, but I also know that I can't grow without them.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to be the right, the partnerships, relationships,
Yeah,
whatever that,
yeah,
it's right from your spouse to your employees
Yeah.
to your partner, business partners, right? It's
yeah,
so critical. Be on the same, understand each other, I guess.
Yeah.
And what the expectations are. And
yeah.
And,
Yeah, like I really wish I had these tools 30 years ago, right? 20 years ago, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I use that data to kind of help me make decisions, but it's still a gut kind of instinct, right? And
Yeah.
one of the things I kind of learned is it's easy to figure out, from these assessments what people will do well. It also kind of identifies what they will struggle with, and then that's where you focus your questions.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're good at this, but you may struggle at this. So how would you handle a situation like this, right? And so that's where the uncomfortableness kind of comes from, right? But it's a very pertinent kind of conversation. So you ask questions about, what they're going to wrestle with, not what they're going to be good at.
Yeah, that's interesting. That whole evolution from you should come work for me to
Yeah.
let's make sure we're the right fit, make sure I'm the right fit for you.
Yeah.
And I recently had a conversation with a gentleman, and he says, I need this who in his business,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm considering, a number, you're one of them. I said, well, I went through, not as elaborate as what you just presented, but, make sure this is your values are aligned.
Yeah.
It's the right fit. It may or may not be me, right? Like,
Yeah.
If it's not me, I don't want to be there because it's not going to work out, right?
Yeah.
It's so it's so important. I can't
Yeah.
stress enough that. That's one thing. Yeah, I can see why large companies go through an exhaustive interview process for some of the higher
Right.
jobs.
Yeah. It's expensive to find them and expensive to lose them too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you're getting the right people and that they're a fit for you and you're a fit for them too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah, it's cool. I gotta take some of what you're telling me and apply that to my business too. And because as opportunities come about, you
Yeah.
can't be too eager and just jump in. And,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I wrestle with that because I see opportunity in everything, right? But I
Yeah, you do.
need to say no. And how do I say no, right? When do I say no? So,
Would you go through the same process with a different relationship outside of your real estate business, say an investment opportunity? Would you do that same with if someone, like when you're hiring a consultant per se, or you and I are big.
I haven't thought about that, but I don't know why you wouldn't do that.
Yeah. I had a business coach one time, and he said you should be not only hiring people using these techniques, but you should be using them for personal relationships,
Yeah.
with your spouse.
Yeah.
and also, your business partners.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
For business partners, 100%. I could see that. Like my business is, sole proprietor, right? It's just kind of me. But at some point, if there are other shareholders or kind of partners in it, then yes, I think that kind of makes all kinds of sense to go through that, right? Yeah, especially up front, right?
Yeah, could be inexpensive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was having that conversation like a week ago, and I thought, I said, I don't even do, I'm telling you to do this, but I should start doing this too, right? Are you the right fit for me?
Yeah.
That's something I got to figure out.
Yeah, because I realized I'm not everyone's kind of cup of tea, and life's too short, right? If you would enjoy working somewhere else, doing something different, then all the power to you, right?
Yeah.
I get that, right? We don't have to work together, right?
Yeah. It's the ego. Once you get the ego out of the way, it's person can start to accept that. So.
Yeah.
So if you were graduating university right now today, like you got kids. Did Liam graduate this year?
All our kids are graduated, so they're basically kind of 26, 28, 30 years old. So I call them kids, but they're adults, right?
Yeah, we were adults at that age.
Yeah, of course we were. Yeah. I'm still not an adult.
So you probably gave this advice to your kids. Maybe you probably did. But what would you give advice to someone just graduating, or maybe high school or graduating university, or what would be something, just a life lesson or something, just one thing to keep, or advice to pursue or direction to go?
I would say make sure you have the ability to think critically and independently by yourself. I think we're moving right now away from a workforce of doers, and I think we're going to move to thinkers. AI, everybody's worried about AI, and yes, AI will be able to do the repetitive tasks for us and all the heavy lifting, but we need people to think, what to ask AI to get the answers out. And so, I've tried to frame that kind of with the people that we work with. Is like, look, we need to move from being doers to being thinkers. And so if I was to give any advice to people coming out of university, is like, dude, think creatively, think independently, have conversations, that you maybe feel uncomfortable with, right? But learn the thinking skills. Yeah.
So someone at a high school, for example, do you think university is a great step in that? Is that a university step in that direction, or?
I think partly, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, like, school is not the best system for them,
right?
And
Absolutely.
they're some of the most creative, the best thinkers that there are. So I don't think necessarily, but I do think university can, kind of structure that.
Kind of forces you into.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ability to, maybe that comes from you want to be curious, but not.
Curiosity is another thing I would say too.
Yeah.
Be curious, ask questions, learn. Yeah. Be attentive when you're listening too.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thinking independently, it's, I'm with you 100% on that. One of the things I struggle with is as I get older, the less I know.
Yeah.
So I was very strong in my convictions coming out of university and whatnot. And a few of those I don't share those same views with.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe that's an age thing.
Yeah.
But you can't be dogmatic, and like information changes all the time, right?
Yeah.
What's the weather like? Yesterday they said it was going to rain, but now the conditions have changed, right? Or the stock market or whatever.
Conditions have changed. What was the right answer yesterday might not be the right answer today.
That's right. Yeah, and that's where you need to be. Think independently, and
yeah.
That's great advice. I like that.
Yeah.
So we talked about challenge. What is one belief you had in your 20s, or say, that you do not have today? Or what is something you believe now that you didn't believe in your 20s?
In my 20s, you know what, I would say in my 20s, I was pretty hardcore right wing.
Yeah.
I'm still right wing, but I tell you what, I got a lot more perspective now. And actually this for Christmas, my son gave me this book, From Left to Right by Dale Eisler about, politics in Saskatchewan and the history of it. So I read that and it really kind of changed my perspective, right? Because I do think everything is in context at time. My grandfather was very NDP and I couldn't understand that, but he went through a very different period than I did, right? And the NDP were, I think, kind of classified as socialist, but that wasn't necessarily the case.
No.
And so anyways, I don't hold that staunch kind of right wing kind of position that I did in my 20s today. I'm not saying I'm not right wing on a lot of things, but maybe not as extreme right wing. And I'm also receptive to the left wing. What do they have to say and why they have to say it? And I could change my perspective, whereas in my 20s, I don't think I would.
No, basically, yeah, that's interesting. I've certainly gone, I think I thought I wanted to be libertarian.
Yeah.
And without fully understanding the consequences, And I would classify as I was right wing for the time, far right wing for the time, I guess. I don't think I would have that would be the same situation now. But I'm certainly more now. I'm definitely more in the center.
Yeah.
And my feet, I can be stepping over the line in any given position, right? But yeah, you don't want. For me, it's important not to just identify with the political spectrum and whatever this side says is yes, I'm behind it 100%, and the other side's evil and it's stupid or whatever the term is.
I think Saskatchewan is really unique, Trent, because at times we were voting in NDP provincial governments and voting in Conservatives in federal.
I guess.
You know what? And so did we really have an ideology? And I don't think necessarily that we did. I think Saskatchewan voted the way it needed to vote at the time. So anyways, the book has given me a little different perspective, right?
Maybe I'll read that to get a better understanding.
Yeah.
I happen to vote for the person.
Yeah.
And it boils down to maybe what we talked about earlier. If it's not a nice fit, it's really, I don't like you, or whatever, right? All right.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
You exhibit some behaviors that I exhibit that I don't like, or you know what I mean? Like it's just whatever.
Yeah. 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 I would say I'm less ideologized today. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's how do you feel about the future, the outlook? What's your kids are growing up?
My kids are growing up. Yeah. Very just awesome people, right? For the last 30 years, you'd ask me what I want. I'd say I want good kids.
Yeah.
I have good kids. They're great people. They have found great partners. They have good values, right? So really, I think my number one goal is kind of met. So, but I'm excited for the future. I really am. I mean, I guess I'm always kind of looking forward, right? And I'm always thinking, there's better ways to do things. And the world just seems to go that way, right? And I like that. I'm super excited about AI. I know it scares the heck out of some people, and I don't think it'll be challenge free, but I think it's going to be pretty amazing in what it can free us up to kind of do. I actually think it'll make us have more time to kind of think critically again. So I'm super excited from that prospect. And of course, I'd love to profit because of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's not about, making money. It's about kind of helping people and doing things, solving problems and creating opportunities, right? And, the paycheck is just kind of the scorecard to say that you did it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's AI, you and I have had a number of discussions about its value or use to us, how we're using it, right?
Yeah.
And I'll just tie it into the AI with what you mentioned earlier about being able to ask the right questions. I got a buddy. He's at a different intelligence level than I'm at. Greater schooling. He's more well-read. He's got his 1 or 2 masters, right? He's just above me in this level. And we'll play around with the prompts, and he's sharing with me his prompts he's using. And it's like, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
Like it's, but with better prompts, gets better results.
Yeah.
And, why is the sky blue? Or, right? But, or whatever the stupid question I might type in is, and, his is considered, just another level of complexity and depth that I don't.
But that's that thinking critically, right? And that's being curious. How do I ask this question to kind of flush out the answer that I'm in search of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great, Tim. Tim's the most optimistic person that I have in my life. And I think this is well displayed in this conversation.
It is. My print score is a 9.7, right? Which means I'm extremely positive, and I love peace and harmony and integrity. So,
and if we want to find the peace and harmony, we will find it, won't we?
we will.
Yeah.
We'll attract it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, it's been great, and I always enjoy our conversations.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Trent. I'm super excited to be here and, have these kind of conversations. So that's awesome. Thanks again.
Excellent. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
All right.
All right.